Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Sorry for my tardiness. It's 10 after 10 on January 30th, 2026. St. Martina of Rome, if you're scoring at home, or Eastern Rite is three hierarchs, which is a cool story, by the way. Basil, Gregory, and John Chrysostom. Great, they use both sides. Anyway, let's get right to it. This was great from Abbeville Institute. Let me play a little bit of what Professor or Dr. Don Livingston is saying.
The seas that have run wild in our 20th century. The word totalitarian was coined by the fascist regime of Mussolini in the early 1920s. It meant an ideology that would bind the various strains of society, political, economic, social, moral, religious, and other important strains, together under central authority. Later examples being Nazi Germany, Soviet Union, Mao's China, and so on. To establish these regimes, tens of millions of people died, not in war, but in revolution and ideological cleansing. Communism alone took 1 million lives in the 20th century. But there's a scholar named R.J. Rummel, R-U-M-M-E-L, who argues that governments have killed more of their people in the 20th century than all the wars fought around the world. So the state is a problem in itself. For example, about 1 million people died in Lincoln's War to prevent secession. It was not about slavery, it was about preventing secession. That's more than all Americans lost in all of our wars. What was the greatest threat to life in the United States at that time? The mismanagement of government. The Southern critique was not aimed at totalitarian regimes because no such regime existed at that time. There were tyrannies, but they were not totalitarian.
Anyway, it's in the show notes. If you look at any of this stuff, it's look at underneath here. Check out the link underneath. Sorry, I'm losing my head. You'll see a chronological order. Great little lecture. I'm going to try to cut it up and put it up on some shorts. Here is Andrew Branca. Okay, what happened is there was a post about, I'll pull it up, see if I can remember finding it to get the context of this. 17th Amendment. Here it is. There's Patrick Blonde saying the Trump administration has quietly introduced an effort to repeal the 17th Amendment, which would rob you of your right to vote for representation and instead have your senators appointed for you. These people actually have no clue what they're talking about because, and here it is right here, the nation is best served by retaining the prior constitutional system that provided for each state's legislator to elect the state's United States senators. Back in the day, well, that's why you have the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives voted by popular people. Hence why you get so many. That's why the population is a big thing. In the Senate, it's 2 per state, no matter big, small, whatever. It's equal. And the state used to be able to pick 2 people up to send up to them. Because nowadays you get everyone to vote. I'm going to vote for the House of Representatives and I vote for her Senate. You can already get the vote. The Patriot Blonde has no idea because you already get the pick. It's called the House of Representatives. That's your representative. The senator is supposed to be picked for the states. The state can recall it. If they send a guy to D.C. and he just stinks. He's doing everything against the state. The state can recall the guy and we'll put somebody up there that's going to work for us. Again, it's a check on balances. Anyways, so here's what he did. This was a great response to it. You don't see it too often.
Their own right. Other bad things, of course, was the 17th Amendment made senators popularly elected. That's not what our founders wanted. That's not what they put in the Constitution. In the Constitution, U.S. senators were not popularly elected. They were chosen by each state's legislature. And you may be wondering, well, what difference does that make? Well, the difference it makes is because the people were supposed to be represented at the federal government level by the House of Representatives. And the U.S. Senate was supposed to represent not the people, but the states as sovereign entities in their own right, in the model of federalism, a federal sovereign and then state sovereign entities. And the states could have a check on overreaching by the federal government because the states had their own representatives in the federal legislature. The states decided who to send to the U.S. Senate. The 17th Amendment broke that system. It made it so the states have no effective check on the federal government at all. And look at what's happened since. The state sovereignty has been crushed, and the federal government has expanded beyond all comprehension. Terrible. And that wasn't an accident. That was by design. This is the early 1900s. Woodrow Wilson, a few years later, we'd have FDR. These are people who wanted to expand aggressively a tyrannical federal government. That was hard to do when the states could check you. So take away the power of the states to check you. Easy peasy. Then, of course, the same year, 1913, the Federal Reserve Act we've been talking about. All in 1 year. All in 1 year.
I'll send this to Patriot Blonde so that she can maybe figure it out, because that should be an easy thing to know. But again, not too many people care to learn about stuff like this. And it's, oh, they're taking away our rights. No, they're not. What we got here goes into this. Tim Walz went full you-know-what. Tim Walz insinuates fatal ICE shootings are kicking off a civil war. This is one of the, if we had an award for dumbest thing in the world today, kind of like I hate to make fun of someone that got hurt. The Darwin Award would go to the lady that picked up the flashbang and her hand got almost blown off. This is right up there with it, but it's not Darwin Award. I mean, is this Fort Sumter? Tim Walz asked a pro-migration writer from the Atlantic. It's an armed force that's assaulting, that's killing my constituents, my citizens. This shut off all kinds of things. But first off, let's get to Dr. Harrelson on this. Stop conflating the left with the Confederacy. Let's see. Here he's talking about the American Spectator, saying that the Democrat, where's it at? He was a thinker, American Spectator, and right-wing outlets, predominantly Fox, have argued that Democrats who defy federal authority are again in open rebellion against the United States, just like their Democrat Party forebears, Jefferson Davis and the Southern Democrats of the 1860s. Not only is this bad history, it's insulting. If anyone wants to argue against leftist ideas, don't throw the South and the Confederacy under the bus in order to do so. The Confederate South was more traditional, conservative, is actually conservative, and American than any of these journalists or reporters can fathom. Let's see. The Confederate founders viewed their struggle in the exact same way as the American patriots of the Revolution rebelled against the king, as he said, not for the purpose of creating an entirely new society, but to preserve their English liberties for what they considered to be intrusion of a distant and usurping power. Confederate founders viewed that struggle the exact same way, calling it the Second War of Independence. Historians can and have debated the meaning of the war at length, but one thing is crystal clear. Tim Walz is no Jefferson Davis. Walz is leading a mob. Davis led principled men who braved a worthy foe. Until the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Southern Democrats gave the party a conservative tinge. The Southern conservatives began to bolt the party in favor of the Republicans. The liberal and northern section of the party began to give it much of its current shape. The history of why and how the bolt happened is more complex than we get into this article. Blah, 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 blah. The point is, today's leftists are not the same as the old Southern Democrats. Historian Elizabeth Fox Genovese, who wrote in Southern Cultures magazine, the distinctive aspects of the Southern tradition have always been conservative. Modern Southern conservatism stands virtually alone in the spectrum of conservatism of our time, primarily between the two key tenets: its insistence upon the centrality of personal and local histories in the self-definitions of individuals and communities, and its abiding discomfort with the sovereign effects of rampant capitalism and individualism. By the way, Fox Genovese, who became a faithful Catholic, rightly pointed out that the Southern conservatism differ from mainstream American conservative thought in that it pays close attention to the past, to the accomplishments of previous generations, a far cry from the Reagan-style approach that focuses on economics and material progress. Rampant capitalism is a good name for it. Her article was published in 1993, about the same time that M.E. Bradford died. Much of the conservatism influence was lost with him. Not all of it, however. I believe this older American conservatism, based on the particular history of ideas, a particular place, and a particular way of seeing the world, holds the keys to a much-needed rediscovery of what it means to be an American. And if you want to disregard Southern conservatism because of a history of slavery and troubled race relations, then you'd better disregard nearly every culture and tradition within the history of Western civilization, as those things were never unique to the American South. The 1619 Project simply won't do. I want to share a second quote at length from the great Southern writer Richard Weaver. His articulation of why the Civil War, the Confederacy, and the Southern struggle against the Union continues to matter is among the best I've ever seen. The quote is found in a 1955 essay entitled History in the Dry Light. Weaver wrote, among anyone who imagines that all the issues were disposed of when Grant and Lee had their interview in McLean's parlor is a provincial in this country. Some of the issues, like those which tore France apart in the 1790s, are too reflective of philosophies of life to be settled for good by a trial at arms. Southern spokesmen have known that they have on their side much of the Bible and Aristotle, who believe that the ideal form of government is not a democracy, but a constitutional republic. That clip with Dr. Livingston I had before, he gets into that about the 25-minute mark. Restatements of the Southern position, like those made during the 1930s by the agrarians and others, show the power of these basic viewpoints to reassert themselves. And in a way, the South's case becomes stronger as technology increases and men are more and more perplexed to know what is happening to the human spirit. Weaver is not describing an experience or a people motivated by anything remotely resembling the modern Democrat Party, nor much of the current Republican Party. If you think today's leftists are yesterday's Confederates, think again. I was just looking in the chat, see if anybody had anything. Because here's Beck bringing this up. His history is just terrible. So bad. I'll play a little bit for you. But that's Beck for you.
If you thought you could pass this by and you thought there was nothing there, I mean, is this a Fort Sumter, John Brown moment? Where are we at on this? And we're doing everything right. And I have said it time and time again. The way you win this is
stop. We're doing everything right. Is this a Fort Sumter, John Brown moment? What is this? Okay, let me just for those who don't remember.
By the way, John Brown was a Northerner GOPer, by the way.
History, because it was boring when you were taught. Fort Sumter happened in 1861, and that was South Carolina saying, get them. The federal government had Fort Sumter. They used an organized force against the federal government.
Notice that Beck is not bringing up that Lincoln did everything he could to provoke that fight. He's not going to bring that up because Beck is not does not like to side with anybody in the South. He's a Lincolnite. So he's going to bring this. He's going to be like, Lincoln had to do it. He's a South Carolina shot first. It was a false flag.
And attacked Fort Sumter. That was the beginning of the Civil War. Okay. So when he says, is this a Fort Sumter moment? He's implicitly saying this is the opening shot of an organized resistance against federal authority. That matters. Once you start talking about Fort Sumter, you're not talking about protest or dissent or civil resistance. You're talking about insurrection.
See, there you go. Now all of us Southerners are insurrectionists. But yet he would say, what would he say about 1776? They shot her around the world. Is now the patriots of 1776 insurrectionists? Depends on what side of the coin you want to be on.
And by the way, Tim, that puts you as a Confederate. It doesn't put you on the good side, the winning side. It makes you a Confederate.
See, now the Confederates, the bad side. We're the bad guys. It's not the winning side. It's the bad side. We're insurrectionists and the bad side.
Confederate. Then he follows that with, is this Fort Sumter? Is this a John Brown moment? John Brown now, because we're so historically illiterate, we think, oh, well, John Brown was an abolitionist. Yeah, he was an abolitionist that even Abraham Lincoln distanced himself from.
Lincoln wasn't even an abolitionist. You talk about history being illiterate on history. Where's the mirror, Glenn? It's so bad. I sent this to Dr. Harrelson with the comment, I can't even.
He was an abolitionist, and he was his moral conviction was everything that motivated him. But he was...
He's not going to bring up that he was a Republican, is it? He's not bringing that up.
Willing to use legal force. I mean...
Not bringing up a Northern Republican.
Lethal force. He did not believe in the democratic or constitutional process anymore. Even the people who were abolitionists, even the Northerners were like, John Brown, holy cow. First he was a hero, and then they realized this guy is out of control because he led raids and killings, and he terrified people, even people on his own side.
Let me see if I can bring up Brian McClanahan on John Brown. There's a couple people that are asking about that. Because he brought this up earlier. Let's see. There is John Brown.
If you like this, you can click on that little heart. It's a thanks heart. So if you like any of the videos there and you want to contribute. But the fact is, his son-in-law, Philip Holmes, wrote this tweet on, that was just about a week ago, not even a week ago. He said, happy birthday to one of the most controversial heroes in our nation's history, John Brown, Christian, Calvinist, abolitionist, and in my opinion, the greatest white American man to ever live. Now, this is why I have John Brown in 25 People Who Changed America. I've got a number of quotes that are in line with this in that particular class about John Brown, going all the way back to the 19th century.
Amy, I'm going to help you out with this.
See, after John Brown was executed, there was a concerted effort from people in New England to make John Brown a martyr, to make John Brown a saint. John Brown became the symbol of New England. And there was a book written by Tom Fleming just before he died. This is the historian Tom Fleming, not the Chronicles magazine Tom Fleming. And he blamed the abolitionists for the war, and people got very upset about this. And because they said, my gosh, this is just a bunch of racist tripe. You know, Tom Fleming was not a racist. But he was going back and looking at rhetoric. And he took a direct line to the abolitionists and said, look, this is the problem. You have people that are inflaming passions on both sides. It's a very small percentage of the population. Look, abolitionists might have been 1% of the population, maybe. I mean, I don't think you could say that they were a very large percent of the American population. You certainly had people who were anti-slavery, but they weren't abolitionists. They just didn't want it around. This is basically the Midwest. You know, we're anti-slavery. We're also anti-black. We don't want black Americans to live here. Places like Illinois and Ohio and others had passed exclusionary laws, which made it illegal to live in those states unless you paid a fine in some cases. So it was a very steep fine. Most people couldn't afford it. So the fact is, you have a situation where you have anti-slavery, which is also anti-black. You had very few abolitionists. Abolitionists were run out of town. Abolitionists were seen to be radicals.
No one brings that up. Nobody popular history brings that up, huh?
And John Brown was that. Now, John Brown was also a number of other things, and I don't want to steal all my thunder for the class. You need to take 25 People Who Changed America, because I covered George Washington and John Brown in that class. But John Brown was also other things. He was a failure in many ways. I mean, John Brown failed at every business he ever tried. Every one. He also had over 20 kids through 2 wives. But he failed at everything. In fact, one historian essentially pegged him as an opportunist. He was a money-grubbing opportunist. And when he was funded by the Secret Six to go lead a slave insurrection in Virginia. The general theory is that John Brown was basically doing it for the money. He wasn't really committed to the cause. He would certainly at times say the right things, but he was in it for the money. He was in Kansas for the money. Now, this is where I get into the fact that John Brown cannot be the greatest white American man to ever live unless you enjoy homicidal maniacs. John Brown was a murderer.
Poor Glenn.
We overlook this part of John Brown's history. It wasn't just that what he did in Harper's Ferry, which, by the way, the first guy killed was a black guy. Now, people try to poo-poo this and say, well, that guy probably would have supported John Brown if he knew who he was, but he thought he was somebody else, and so he got shot. We don't know that. We don't know that at all, what this guy would have done. But the fact is, John Brown, we'll leave that aside. John Brown in Kansas at Pottawatomie Creek murdered Kansans in their sleep, right? This wasn't some type of battle. I mean, Bleeding Kansas is often held up as we've got these battles in Kansas. This is the early Civil War. I guess if you count murder as part of the early Civil War, okay. But John Brown went out and killed people in their sleep, murdered them. And this is somehow the greatest white American man to ever live, above George Washington, who was an honorable man, who was the indispensable man, who was regarded as the father of his country. This is just complete garbage. But this is what we have. But see, the thing is, if you are supremely committed to the proposition nation, then John Brown has to be your guy, because he was committed ostensibly to the proposition nation. George Washington was not. George Washington didn't believe in equality. George Washington didn't believe in equity. George Washington believed in racism and slavery. John Brown did not. John Brown was Jesus Christ in America. And so if that's the case, then you have to be a committed John Brown fanatic. You have to sing John Brown's body and walk around singing the Battle Hymn of the Republic. You have to be Allen Guelzo. This is what you have to be, right? You have to genuflect to Lincoln and spread holy water on John Brown's statue and Abraham Lincoln's statue, because you're worshiping these individuals.
Yeah, so that's Beck for you. He cannot admit that, because that's what the way he is. I'll put he probably won't like this. Let me go ahead and put that over for him. I'll put it in the comments section for Glenn. I'm John Brown. Enjoy. I know he's not going to look at it. Here's Dr. Harrelson today.
National Review, the American Spectator, several publications that claim to be conservative are pushing out article after article comparing Minnesota to South Carolina in 1860. The new Confederates. Tim Walz is the new Jefferson Davis. As to use a phrase from Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, these people must be gnawing on a 12-piece bucket of stupid. I want to share with you a line from Eugene Genovese, who he knew more about Southern intellectual history than most people has ever lived. And this is what he said in his foreword to a collection of essays by Georgia writer Marion Montgomery. Listen to this. A counterattack against the cultural revolution of nihilism requires attention to the long struggle waged by the South from the earliest days of the Republic. It requires an understanding of that struggle as part of a worldwide resistance to assorted forms of anti-Christian totalitarianism. These mediocre buffoons who are writing for these conservative publications don't know anything about the South's perspective of American conservatism. if you want to have an argument against leftist ideas, do so without throwing the entire history of the South and the Confederate struggle for independence completely under the bus. 2026 Minnesota is not 1860 South Carolina. Tim Walz is leading a mob. Jefferson Davis led principled men who braved a worthy foe. It was a completely different time. And the history of the South is not relegated to the 1860s. That is one chapter of a much longer story against this nihilism, this anti-Christian, tyrannical modern world in which we live. It arouses my ire when people throw the South under the bus, especially when they claim to be conservative.
That's the problem, because most of these guys are not conservative. The quote unquote when Beck says that people are illiterate in history, he's talking about himself in that, because you have to worship, like he said, worship Lincoln to be able to jettison that, and that is not conservative. Lincoln was a progressive. Lincoln was not conservative. He fought against the conservatives. The conservatives were the Southerners. They had to be exterminated because of that. Hence why you have the fake two-party system. And one team is no different. There's no dime difference from one team to the other team. They're both progressive. Springsteen set to perform in Minneapolis at anti-ICE national shutdown protest. Apparently the shutdown was today. They said they were going to shut down the entire continent, I think, with their protest. I don't know if anybody even knew what they were doing. The boss released some songs ago slamming Trump and recent killings. I didn't even know the boss was still singing. Now, Beck has been good. I'll give him that. He sucks on history of that because he comes at it from a Lincolnite perspective. I do think he's been great on these videos. And he was great for the first one that the BBC came out. And he's been great on this one with when he's talking about the video with him, Alex Preddy, and his family has said that this is him. And again, even Beck will say it on here, saying that even if that was him, he should have been arrested. This was not a good. This is obviously not good. It's destruction of property, anger, things like that. Still does not say, hey, we should shoot the guy. So this is a legit thing, because everyone was talking about, is this AI? Is this real? Is not? The family even came out saying that's him. But again, as Beck was saying, this is terrible for him, because I did not know this part. Let's see, where's it at? Let's see, I'll play this part. I had no clue CNN was doing this. Oh, darn it.
Alex Preddy.
Hit Max.
Eyes were telling you.
Max is fun. I used to watch Max a lot during the hurricane time. This guy gets 500,000 views, and sometimes his titles are the only thing worth clicking.
Okay. So it changed our relationship. Then the internet, the truth, and nothing but the truth. I don't want it filtered. I don't want AI to change things. I just want to see it. I want to know what it is. And when you see it, you must deal with it. Whether you like it or not, you must deal with it. So let's look at the Preddy video. First, let me start here. This is what CNN has been saying about Preddy. This is before the latest footage was put out. Listen to this. Cut 2, please.
They chose to, they killed the wrong guy, right? Because this is like the perfect guy. Alex Preddy is the guy you would want to date your daughter. The guy you would want your son to grow up to be, a decent human being who was serving humanity, serving sick veterans, who is, there is nothing that has.
Hey, candlesticks. No, it's not snowing here yet. Yeah, we're supposed to get anywhere between 3 and a quarter mile snow. It's somewhere between.
Been said about that man that isn't wonderful. And so they can't malign him. They can't malign him because we have the videos.
Okay, we do have the videos. Now, will CNN publish these videos? Will they make as big of a deal about these videos, this video, as the last video? I doubt it. Here is the video, the new footage of Alex Preddy, but filming. That omission is not an accident. That is a lie of omission. A lie of omission. Let's address the line they keep repeating like a shield. Nothing that happened a week earlier could possibly justify his killing. Let me say something shocking. That's a true statement from the press. No one serious is arguing otherwise. Who's arguing that?
I've seen people argue that online. It's pathetic, but I've seen people argue that. But yes, they're right. And that a week ago should not be killed for that.
He kicked the tail light out. He should have been shot. Nobody's arguing that. I'm not arguing that.
The idiots, there's some people online doing it.
That statement is, again, a lie. It's sleight of hand, a way to avoid a harder question. Why were the public and the jury pool fed a one-dimensional lie? Why were Americans denied the full picture of who this man was in that moment? Why does the media always do this? Turn complicated, volatile human beings into symbols stripped away of agency, responsibility, and any warning sign. Why?
Now, in defense of CNN, just playing devil's advocate, they probably didn't have, I don't know, that other video came out, yesterday, day before. So it probably wasn't there the exact moment of the other video, the first thing. Someone had to find it. I heard the BBC, used a facial rec to try to find other videos. I don't even know who uploaded that or other things like that. So it's interesting how that video even got up there. But hey, yeah, as he said, should have been killed for it. There's nothing. It just shows you what the kind of person the guy is. Here is the BBC video. Oh yeah, I don't have the reviewed still. Sorry, change that up. I think BBC did a great job with this.
Alex Preddy was killed by federal agents on Saturday, the 24th of January. Alex Preddy was killed by federal agents on Saturday, the 24th of January. He was shot in Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis, less than 3 weeks after Renee Good was also shot and killed by federal agents in the city. In the hours after Alex Preddy's death, the Trump administration offered this explanation.
This looks like a situation where an individual arrived at this scene to inflict maximum damage on individuals and to kill law enforcement.
With that in mind, let's look at the available evidence about what happened that Saturday morning. The first video we have starts more than 6 minutes before the shooting. A woman is recording, and she sees federal agents approach a store called Glam Doll Donuts. With her is a man who's on the phone. More agents arrive. They're there to arrest a suspected illegal immigrant.
And notice what BBC said, a suspected. Well, most of these guys are just using as everyone has heard, profiling.
They're about 25 meters from where Alex Preddy will be killed. Less than a minute after that, the man starts verbally abusing the agents. The man continues to shout. And then, 3 minutes and 23 seconds into this video, we see Alex Preddy. Soon afterwards, he's being pushed back by an agent. "Do not touch me," he shouts. The same moment is captured in another video, which starts a little earlier. Here's Alex Preddy in the road, holding a phone and face-to-face with the federal agent. Again, we see the agent push him, and Alex Preddy steps backwards. We can clearly see he has a phone in one hand, nothing in the other. Before we continue to assess the video evidence, keep in mind what the Trump administration said about two things: Alex Preddy's intentions and the nature of the protest in the street. We were told Alex Preddy was an assassin who tried to murder federal agents. We were told he intended to
massacre law enforcement.
And we were told this.
This is a violent riot when you have someone showing up with weapons and are using them to assault law enforcement officers.
The continuous video we have of the minutes before the shooting doesn't show anything that supports this. Here's another video. Alex Preddy is on the right Once more, he has nothing in one hand, a phone in the other. Nearby are two people interacting with an agent. One has an orange rucksack, one has a brown coat. We see them both again in multiple videos, including this one that shows the moments leading up to Alex Pretty being shot. Let's pause the video here. This is 33 seconds before the first shot is fired. An agent pushes the person with the brown coat, then pushes Alex Pretty, then pushes the person with the orange rucksack, who falls to the ground. Before continuing, let's hear the Trump administration's account of the incident.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently.
There's no evidence that, at this point, the agents knew that Alex Pretty was armed. We see him step between the person with the orange rucksack and an agent. For a brief moment, he touches the agent near the waist. He's then pepper sprayed. We're now 27 seconds before the first shot is fired. He raises a hand as if to block the spray and then turns away, bending down, as if to help the person who the agent had pushed to the floor. The agent grabs his arm and starts to pull him away. As more agents arrive, they wrestle Alex Pretty to the ground. This is 9 seconds before he's shot. President Trump referred to Alex Pretty as a gunman. That description normally suggests someone who is actively using a gun. None of the videos we've analyzed show Alex Pretty holding a gun. Throughout these moments, he has a phone in his right hand and appears to be filming. As we return to the video, Alex Pretty is now surrounded by 8 agents. He's on his knees, bent over. We can clearly see his hands on the floor, and he's struggling against being held down. One agent repeatedly strikes in the direction of his head. Let's highlight another agent in a grey jacket. Note that his right hand is empty. He reaches down and removes what appears to be a gun from Alex Pretty's waistband. He then steps back, and the gun is clearly visible in his right hand. That gun appears to match this weapon, which was shown in an image shared by the authorities. And there are several things to note here. Carrying this type of gun is legal in Minnesota with a valid permit. The police say Alex Pretty had one. The FBI Director Kash Patel has implied it's illegal to bring a firearm loaded with multiple magazines to any sort of protest. But it's not. In Minnesota, it's not illegal to bring a loaded firearm to a protest. The head of the FBI got that completely wrong. Indeed, in the US, having a gun in your belt is not, in and of itself, considered a threat. As we saw, Alex Pretty's gun was removed. There's been no suggestion he was armed beyond this point. And as the gun is taken, we hear voices shouting. At this point, let's highlight another agent too, this one. He'll go on to fire the vast majority of the shots. But look, as other agents struggle with Alex Pretty, this agent is facing away. He then turns towards Alex Pretty. At this point, he has a clear view of the agent in the grey jacket who's about to remove the gun. The agent we're now focused on is wearing a black beanie hat, a black face covering, and sunglasses. He's facing towards Alex Pretty. We can't say definitively he sees the gun being removed, but he's facing in that direction, and the agent in the grey jacket turns away, holding Alex Pretty's gun. At almost exactly the same time, the agent in the black beanie hat draws his weapon, and the first shot is fired. We can see that he fired the second, third, and fourth shots. Alex Pretty collapses to the ground. The agent stepped back, standing clear of his motionless body. Another agent draws his gun and also points it at Alex Pretty. More shots are fired. None of the other agents can be seen to draw their firearms at any point. The agent who fired the first shots can be seen firing the final 3. In total, 10 shots were fired in 5 seconds. And the legality of this action is under scrutiny.
It is unconstitutional to use lethal force against someone who does not pose an imminent threat of.
Anyway, I just want to bring that up because I thought that was a very good video on with the events that went on it. Again, I don't think anybody I know talked about him being a canonized saint, but just here's the Pretty family attorney statement a week before Alex was gunned down. Despite posing no threat, he was violently assaulted by a group of agents. Anyway, this is what they were talking about. This was about the video. And again, they say that, well, it doesn't say on here, but it does say in the video that the family has admitted that that is him. Here's protesters call for nationwide strike against Trump's immigration policies. And it was led by, here it is right here, protesters across the U.S. are calling for no work, no school, no shopping. It's part of the strike on Friday. Apparently some nurses were heading up on it, and I kind of laughed at that because remember during the Rona, sorry, nurses, I don't, you lost me during the Rona. Here's Ted Cruz. This was 3 days ago. Talking about Tehran. Cruz says we should be arming the protesters in Iran now for the Iranian people to overthrow the Ayatollah, a tyrant who routinely chants death to America would make America much, much safer. So, hey, it's okay to arm protesters in Iran, but it's not okay to have armed protesters in the States. It is, what? But that's Tel Aviv Cruz for you. Here's a Ryan Christian talking about it. Said, tell me you're hiding something without saying a word. Nothing screams. Totally normal, like bulldozing a state's right to investigate. There's exposing the federal cover-up surrounding the Good Pretty shootings, with the FBI investigator quitting, federal agents stonewalling, state investigators being shut out, and key evidence being held by the federal investigators. The cover-up is hard to ignore. There's about 5 minutes worth on here. Again, everything's in the show notes. You want to check it out. Tommy Robinson, who I don't trust, with a 10-foot pole out in England. He's a scientist guy too. Deportations versus protests. Clinton, 12.5 million, zero protests. Bush, 10 million, zero protests. Obama, 5.2, zero. Brandon, 7 million, zero. Trump, 1.2 protests, thousands. All whipped up by legacy media. And as people down here said, that's a lie. There's Obama protesters. Remember, it was a Clinton. There was the pulling the kid out of the closet. That was a big thing. That ticked off a lot of people. Hey, Gregory, appreciate it, man. Thanks for that. Excuse me. One day I'll get rid of this cough. Might be the summer, but hey, one day. But yeah, it just goes to show you that they're trying to push this thing. And again, common sense. In the Clinton days, you didn't have cell phones recording everything. Today, literally everybody's individual journalist, independent journalist, trying to get the most clicks, always got phones out. You can't go to a baseball game or a football game or concert without everyone having their phones up because they're living through their screen. Not too many people just sit there or enjoy it anymore. Anything that goes on, everyone has to whip out a phone and do something with it. Back then, nobody did that. So there's absolutely zero. I mean, I'm sure there was protests during Clinton. I'm sure. You're telling me there's no protest during Clinton? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, there's obviously there's ones Obama. There's ones during all of them. They just don't have the recordings like everything here. If the thing in Minnesota happened during the Clinton era, you wouldn't even know about it because you'd probably see it on a clip. You probably see maybe an article about it, or the state would have come out and said how bad of it, what happened, their spin on it, and you would never known anything different. Nowadays, you got 6 different camera angles from 12 people there. And CJ Hopkins, here's a blast from the past for all you freedom folks cheering on the ICE goon squads currently brutalizing and murdering Americans. A montage of German goon squads brutalizing COVID dissidents in the COVID era. Enjoy and remember, they were asking for it. Because remember, you see a lot of people saying he was asking for it. It was kind of it was ironic that Alex he was a Rona guy too, that he would post up those things about he was a nurse, so he was in on it, in on the scam, lying to everybody. He would post up the thing, "Stay home, stay alive." Yeah, it is. You look back and you see the irony on that now, but this was happening back then. And as the one clip before has showed about it, you saw that we had the. I mean, you had the squads all over town during 2020. Here's Tom Holman to anti-ICE protesters. Go protest Congress. Tell them you want changes. Maybe I'll play a little bit of it. he seems to have they seem to have pivoted on a lot of what's going on. As one person said, was it Beck? Was it? I think it was Beck. Maybe somebody brought up that they seem to have been focusing more on the protesters than actually doing what they're supposed to be doing about rounding up anybody, which you don't hear about that right now. You just hear about the protesters. Come on, Tommy.
I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March, if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there
No, Christopher, hey, man, appreciate that. Thanks for the comment, too. I'm not trying to bring up scandalization. If you don't know there's scandal in media, politics, all that, then obviously, like I said, bring back 2020. There was a lot of lying going on at that time. This is just to show you what's actually going on, because a lot of people aren't going to bring up, because most people follow the big names, Sorter, Jack, Paso, all those guys. And I see what they post, but I look at the alternative angles on things, what's not being said, what's the other play in this, things like this, which is, I got that coming up here in a minute. No, just to give you an idea, kind of like you turn the weather on. You can either have somebody come up to you and lie to you and say, hey, it's going to be sunny and 70 tomorrow, or you can see what's going on as well. It's like it's 30 degrees outside and I got snow on my hand right now. What is going on here? Somebody's gaslighting me a little bit. So I'm trying to show you the angle of a different thought of Tom Woods has a great line of, you're entering the line of unapproved, you're outside the 3x5 card. So 3x5 card is, I don't have a 3x5 card. I have an empty strawberry seed package. I'll use that as my 3x5 card. 3x5 card is what you're supposed to say in here. Don't think outside that box. Just think what's inside it, and that's it. Don't do anything else. So I'm trying to do, as he says, the unapprovable position, an unapprovable opinion. So when I bring up everyone's talking about this, oh, this guy deserved it. Okay, let's look into it. Here's BBC. How many people did you see look up the BBC thing? How many also are going to say, here's the BBC thing, and he should have been killed, and he should have been arrested for breaking the back of the car. Now, a lot of people, most of the people just should have killed. That's it. No. We're team party politics. I'm the flavor of they all suck. And you pretty much don't need to be voting for federal elections anymore because it's all rigged. And can anybody give me a good example of why you should? Now, you should vote for your state, which is your country, your backyard. Fix that up, get into office and do that. There's some good things going on at the federalism level, at the state level. Federalism is state by state. It's the federal republic of 50 states in a union together. So we break down those barriers of one nation, and then you start figuring, hey, we can fix this. Because if you don't, if you want me to black pill you, this would be we're one nation. You're not fixing DC. Good luck. We're over. Game over. What are we doing? If you go on that level, yes, it's depressing, scandalous. You'd be like, what do I do now? Because nothing works. But that's because it's centralized. With that first video I showed you with Dr. Livingston, he brings up every totalitarian state is huge. It's big, gigantic. What do we are? If we just say we're one country, one giant nation, this is humongous. 320 million people, sea to sea on a continent. It's gigantic. You can't do that. As he brings up in the 25-minute mark of that, like I said, I'll post it up. That you see all these Athens, Sparta, 300,000 max, 30. That was it. There are all these republics in there because you can't govern millions of people. Anyways, so that's why I'm trying to get you to think outside the box a little bit so that there are solutions. Actually, Jesse Ventura is coming up with one after this clip, I think. But it's getting small. It's thinking. Stop looking at the news as in, I don't know where you live. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for the work you've done, faithful priest. Yeah, and don't forget, politics is, St. Thomas Aquinas wrote about politics. Bellarmine wrote about it. We have to be involved. Even Francis brought it up. Say what you say about Francis. I'm not getting a Francis debate on here, but he actually talked about we need to get Catholics involved in politics. We do. He was right. Now we got to get them in the right way. I would love to see 50 Catholic men in 50 different states running for the governor of their state. So whatever state you live in, Christopher, I'm sorry, Oakland, California. Okay, California's a rough one. You got Gruesome Newsom. There are movements, Jefferson movements to break up California. Look up, they're still active. Look those guys up. There's a secession movement for California. There's ballots. They're trying to get the signings on there. There's movements to break up California so that you and others could live in a California that's free of LA. That's a good thing. And it could work. You got to get more people involved. You get more people involved, it can happen. Because right now you see like Oregon, the east side of Oregon is looking to break off Oregon and join Idaho. Now, my philosophy is one of those, don't go from one level of the Titanic to another level of the Titanic. You're still on the Titanic. I'm one for get on the raft boats. Get on another boat. The Titanic's going that way. Get on another boat or build the boat from the Titanic and go somewhere else with it. That's where I'm at. So yeah, there's still even hope for California, that's ungovernable. If you think about how many people live in California and how many representatives you have. There's a joke about California that you look at the south side where it's mostly Hispanics and you got Jewish names as their representatives. It's hysterical. Anyway, but yeah, don't think you can't do anything. Just look at it. Even Jefferson talked about back in the day, because he talked about that this would be empire of liberty was what he called it. And he didn't mean it as an empire as in one gigantic Roman empire. He looked at it as many factions all over the place, living how they wanted to live. If you want to, like the Northerners could live one way, Southerners could live another, West Coast, because he even said it was too big at then, because at the time, it was the 1830s, 40s, 50s, the United States in general grew by 50% grew, what was that? I can't remember, 3-4 times the size in 50 years. That was 50 years, grew to 3 to 4 times the size. Incredible growth, could handle it. And again, they talked about that even California would not in the future be part because it's too big and too far away. So you had to be, that's why you see on the state flag of California, Republic of California. It can be its own government. It breaks away right now, as it is right now. It'd be top 5 economics, top 5. It'd be huge. And for the rest of the states, guess what? How many Democrats would leave? 50? You talking about you never lose the GOP, which is not exactly a good group. They'd never lose. So you can actually kick California out if you want. Anyway, here's Tom.
I wish I wasn't right.
Boy, is that low. Forget about it. I'll move on. I can barely hear him. I don't know if you guys can even hear him. Here's Megyn Kelly sending a message to the Trump administration that they decide, if they decide to only go after criminal illegal aliens, which they literally have said for the last couple of times, and Trump is out there saying we don't need to go after everybody. We just need to go after the worst of the worst. That's literally what they sold everything on. Megyn Kelly, I'm sorry, but that's not what we voted for. We voted for them all to get out. Well, Trump has people at Mar-a-Lago and Trump Towers that are illegal, but no one cares to bring that up. Here's Jesse Ventura. Brian McClanahan says, Jesse Ventura for governor. Ventura. Let me play it because the only part about Ventura saying this is I'd say it's kind of dumb to go to Canada, but
one that thinks, let me throw this out on your show and we'll get some headlines. Mm-hmm. How about since Trump dislikes Minnesota so bad and we're so out of control, let's join Canada. Instead of Canada becoming the 51st state of America and lose their health care, like they said, they would never do that because they'd lose their health care. I'd like to see Minnesota, all of us become Canadians.
Secession
and make this part of Canada, because it's obvious Donald Trump don't want us. It's obvious that he's ready to fracture the whole.
That's the best solution right there. Not the join Canada part. Minnesota should say we declare independence and become just a republic or territory of Minnesota, whatever you want to call it. It's their own state. Be independent. You don't even need to join Canada. You just need to break away from the state. Fracturing is a good thing. We need that. This is why we're problems. People in California, people in Iowa, people in North Carolina, people in Georgia wake up and going, I wonder what's going on in Minnesota. That is insane. Nobody, you wake up going, I wonder what's going on in Italy today. I wonder what's going on in Ireland today. I wonder what's going on in El Salvador. I wonder what's going on in Minnesota. Why are you worried about Minnesota? I'm, like I said, I don't know how long, 1,700 miles, a lot of miles away, 25, 30-hour drive. It's nowhere near me. My country's right out there. We're going to get snow tonight. Minnesota ain't getting snow tonight. Well, I don't know if you guys are or not, but Tennessee's not getting it. I care about here. So that's what everyone should care about. Don't worry about that. Yes, and I'm giving you bigger news all over the place, but also saying you shouldn't worry about what's going on in Minnesota. And on top of that, the videos we see, how do we know all this is actually? We're not there. There might be something else going on, pulling on strings. Could be an action, could be a live stream, could be a whole setup. I don't know. Like I said, Corbett brings that up in his media shows or his education on media that we only see out of this box. We don't know what's going on over here or there. If you see action or whatever, unless you're there, and I don't know anybody that was there, you don't know 100% for sure what's going on, especially since the media has been lying to us, not just for the last 5 years, pretty much all our lives, but especially if you go from 2020 on. Yes. Yeah, I mean, the only reason I brought up Benedict, the only reason why I brought up Jesse is because of he actually brought up a good solution. Break away, declare independence. Now he's part about joining Canada. It's like, cuckoo, just stay in Minnesota. You don't have to join Canada. Gay marriage is back on the table as conservatives launch campaign to nix Obergefell, yes. A decade after SCOTUS made gay marriage the quote-unquote law of the land, which, again, if we had federalism again and governors were smart and had a spine, they would have said, what? We nullify that bill. We already got this. We take care of it. The states are in charge of that. You have no authority to do that. We nullify. Bye-bye. Thank you for having a great day. More than 40 conservative groups have united behind the Greater Than campaign movement to take back marriage by restoring the legal and cultural primacy of the natural mother-father-child bond. That means passing laws and bringing court cases aimed at challenging Obergefell versus Hodges 2015, the High Court's 5-4 decision that found marriage equality is protected by the equal protection due process clauses of, please laugh, the 14th Amendment. Again, there's no constitutional part of it. They had to make it up. It's not law. Should have been called that. Right? Even the 14th isn't even ratified. No nation has redefined marriage has ever tried to reclaim it until now. Them before us, the children's rights group founded by Katie Faust in a Wednesday announcement on Substack. 10 years after Obergefell, the truth is undeniable. There's a direct line between gay marriage and child victimization. Again, all you got to do is say this not part of this. There's no constitutional part. We're bringing up. We challenge that. Get a state just like Idaho a couple months ago was talking about that. She wanted to bring it up because the state we're nullifying it. They haven't brought it up. They haven't done anything about it since. I don't think anybody from Idaho knows about that. Let me know. But yes, it's a very easy way to do this. Just say nullification. In Technocracy, part of the program, Samsung says 6G will bring digital twins. 6G will be 50 times faster than 5G, more radiation, and will enable the metaverse where everything will be digitalized. Holograms, AI, and virtual reality will be commonplace, if not required, for modern life in the real world. So you think it's cuckoo now with AI, trying to figure out what the videos are or not. Wait till this junk comes out. Wait till 7G, 8G, 10G, great googly moogly. You won't be able to turn this on and wonder, you're going to you'll turn this on and go, is this real or not? You should already be doing that. But you think some stuff is good now, or you question what is real, what is not. Wait till this stuff comes out. By the way, there's a guy at the end of this. I got a guy that he sold his body, likeness, everything for $80 billion to be cloned. Not cloned, but cloned for AI. It's like 11 Labs. You can request the voice of certain actors. And at least it's legal because they sell their voice to 11 Labs. Then you pay the membership to use it, and then you ask them for permission to do it. Wait till this stuff comes out. Elon Musk. Congrats to the Neuralink team for helping many people who have lost use of their body with our telepathy implant that enables computer use simply by thinking. The next generation Neuralink cybernetic augment with 3 times capability will be ready later this year. Pending regulatory approval, we are also ready to do our first blind sight augment that will enable those who have even complete loss of vision to see in low resolution at first, leading to high resolution over time. Neuralink, we now have 21 participants in the trials worldwide. I've seen videos of this before. I see it as extended like this. And here's Bill Gates. Hey, hi, MAGA guy. Want to microchip me, you super evil globalist billionaire scumbag. Elon Musk. I literally want to microchip you. Based. There's a lot of, because he's on with Trump. He's in with the Trump team. Here's, as I said, federalism works. Just got to use it. What happened? A Michigan bill has been introduced to ban porn online and imprison adult content creators. Art purpose. Do you agree with this legislation? Here's from the article. Michigan GOP bill aims to ban pornography online, including content on disconnection between biology and gender. And I always like bringing up saying federalism works. Those people don't. They usually want the centralized authority, which never works, to do things like this. But this works. If you get into state level, this stuff works every time. This was kind of funny. In a stunning moment, Donald Trump's top economic advisor was just left speechless after CNBC fact-checked him and revealed manufacturing job decreases under Trump leadership. So he actually, well, I'll let him say it at the end. Yeah. It's not, it kind of brings like, hey, we just haven't turned machines on. Oh, that's why.
Out of their production in Virginia. We have a team that keeps a list of the groundbreakings, and it's really quite striking how much production is moving to the U.S.
Yeah, because we've been focused on those manufacturing job numbers, which have not yet shown significant increases. In fact, the opposite.
Right, they've been a little bit level, but I think it's in part because the people haven't turned the machines on yet. They're building the factories.
I just noticed the time. Oh, man, I've already gone over an hour and I'm halfway, not even halfway through it. Let me speed this thing up a little bit. The Patriot Voice. As expected, Trump just announced the new Federal Reserve Chairman, Kevin Warsh. And this one's a doozy. You may want to sit down for this one or drink. Kevin is a member of or connected to the World Jewish Congress, the Bilderberg Group Steering Committee, the Rockefeller Foundation, father-in-law of billionaire Ronald Lauder, and heir of a Stay Lauder makeup, who called on all politicians and world leaders to enforce tough, real laws for anti-Semitism, and said people should just be put into prison. The MEGA group, through father-in-law Ron. The last one is particularly bad. The MEGA group is a group of Jewish billionaires, which included Epstein through Lex Wexner, Charles Bruffman, and Steven Spielberg, among others. We already know what they are all about. Kevin is also big on Bitcoin, which signals that the U.S. fiat dollar will be crashing and replaces with all digital currency, crypto system, rounding out the cashless New World Order. I'm not going to call it the B system. I just say New World Order system here in America. We could be looking at a financial catastrophe that makes 2008 look like child's play. Peter's just been saying that for a while. We are not just cooked, we are charbroiled. Just for posterity, here is Ron Lauder speaking recently to just keep in his mind that his son-in-law, Kevin, is now running the Federal Reserve. It is the very deepest of the deep state. Best idea, break away. You in the Fed that way. Kerry Weather, got to hand it to Trump. He's really outdone himself with this pick to chair the Federal Reserve. Meet Kevin Warsh, former member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, worked with Morgan Stanley, worked in the Bush administration, which appointed him to the Fed's Board of Governors, worked at Ben Bernanke's chief liaison to Wall Street during the 2008 financial crisis, served on the Bilderberg steering committee, but I'm sure he's really looking out for the average American. This is the video of him again saying that every nation adopts severe laws to jail their citizens for a speech he deems anti-Semitic. His disclosed Trump is preparing to nominate Kevin Warsh, son-in-law of said Robert Lauder, and former steering committee. You already know it. It's one of those picks. Adam, a billionaire president for the World Jewish Congress, says they will take over the schools to brainwash children, and that any politician who is anti-Zionist will be targeted and defeated in elections. Now his son will control the Fed. Oh, yeah, this is remember when Trump bragged that he would bring home costs down 30, 50%? That was his promise to Gen Z. What happened? This is obviously about a year ago. I messed that. I have it out of order. Is there? Okay. Hold on to that. This is about where's it at? Yeah, here it is. We'll bring that up later. Okay. Republicans say they have locked 49 votes for SAVE Act Plus. The fight now is forcing the Senate to stop dodging voter integrity. Now, most people, you'll see a lot of guys we like are going, yeah, we got it. We're going to do it. We need it. The problem is in the pudding, or in the ingredients, is the digital ID. And I've been bringing this up for a long while. Last American Vagabond has been doing it for a long time. Here's Tom Rentz. The SAVE Act is coming, but we need it, but with a crucial amendment. I fully support the SAVE Act as vital legislation. I don't want any of it. It's, again, centralization is not the answer. But as it stands, combined with the Real ID Act, it paves the way for a universal digital ID. Here's the reality. Real ID expansion plus SAVE Act equals mandatory digital ID to vote. This further enables track and trace for everyone. He says we must pass the SAVE Act, but we need an amendment to prevent universal digital ID from becoming a requirement. You don't think they know that's in that bill? Shannon Joy, is anyone keeping an eye on the SAVE Act? No, because we're focused on Minnesota. It's being fast-tracked in the Senate right now because we're focusing on Minnesota and the Epstein thing that came out. The bill is touted by MAGA as necessary to secure elections, but it may have a massive poison pill. If mandatory digital ID is attached to this bill, and it is, it becomes an utter disaster and a gross expansion of the digital surveillance state. Here's Last America Vagabond for 2 years ago, a year and a half. The SAVE Act, Real ID, and ID 2020, using a two-party illusion and the election to usher in digital IDs. Exactly. They're using it, was a Minnesota fraud and election problems. Fulton County, they got elected, we're doing an election problem. Everything, always about the election. Even Trump said talking about the election. And here's all the links on here too. The Real ID Act of 2005 was enacted May 11, 2005 in response to the terrorist attacks of 9/11. There are kids born after this law passed who are legally driving. There are kids born after the towers fell that are legally drinking before Real ID was implemented. Anyway, you want to look at all this stuff, it's all here in the show notes, on their show notes, in my show notes. See, in an incredible victory, the Trump FBI has located over 2,700 victims of child exploitation and terminated 3.8 million dark web pedophile accounts. That's what I voted for. And that's what everyone goes, Epstein? I thought I had this. Apparently, I guess I don't. Do I not have it? So apparently, like 3 million pages of Epstein comes out today. And by the way, there will be no arrests. Don't worry. Did they say that they didn't exist? I thought Trump said it was a hoax. Bondi said they don't have it. Bongino said there was nothing there. All this stuff. But now there's 3 million more pages coming out and videos. Lindsey Graham to Europe, we're going to crush your economy. Quote, to any ally, Canada, Britain, Germany, France, if you try to help the ICC to arrest Netanyahu, we're going to sanction you. The ICC is looking at arrest Bibi for war crimes, but the United States rejects that. They roll out the red carpet. And Lindsey Graham, who's supposed to take care of, supposed to be hence the 17th Amendment, Senator of South Carolina, doesn't talk about South Carolina. Again, 17th Amendment, they pull him out. You want anybody upset about, hey, I don't want them to go after repeal the 17th. They would get rid of Graham tomorrow. Trump announces he's building a stadium for 100,000 people in front of the White House for the UFC fight on his birthday. Please make it Idiocracy fiction again. That was not supposed to be a documentary. I don't know where that is in the Constitution for him just to build a stadium. Whose money? Oh, yeah, we're just doing things on a whims now. Again, like we have it like the king. Monarch. And here's the Trump brag would be cost down 30 to 50%. I messed up on that again. Trump signs executive order officially launching the Freedom 250 Grand Prix of Washington, D.C. It will be the first ever IndyCar street race in our nation's capital to celebrate America's 250th anniversary. Just beam me up, Scotty. Again, where's this in the car? How's that legal for him to do that? One. And what? All these problems we got right now. Let's get, again, Hunger Games with the World Games coming up with when you got each state has to bring in 2 tributes, 1 female, 1 male for the games in the Capitol. They're building a new stadium. Here's Peter Schiff, because Trump says he wants to drive housing prices up for people who own their homes. For people that own their homes, we are going to keep them wealthy. Peter Schiff, this is asinine. Trump wants to make the housing bubble bigger so homeowners can keep pretending they're rich by owning homes they can't sell because they're too expensive for anyone to buy. That's right. Most people see that. You see, like one down the street, they're building homes for $500,000. Across the road, 1.1 down the road, 1.4 million. I think my childhood home, we sold it, I think 130,000. I think it's going for like 500,000 now. And no one can buy a house. So how do you do that? You can't do that. What he's trying to say, you can't do that. But he wants young people to buy homes. He's drunk on something. Here's a stunning announcement. Trump declared he's going to give out $2,000 tariff dividend checks to middle-class Americans without Congress. Why is the without Congress important? Because that's the power of the purse. Congress can do that. He can't. Trump stated 2,000 dividends and pay down debt. We can make a payment to the people without Congress. No, you can't. And people have more debt than $2,000. You're giving people in Greenland $100K. Trump is suing the people who voted for him, taxpayers, billions of dollars because a random person at the IRS leaked his tax returns that he promised his voters 34 times he released. And here's a Trump reporter. Why are you suing your own administration and the IRS? Trump, who are you with? Reporter, ABC News. Trump, you're a loud person. Let anybody, let someone else have a chance. ABC fake news. I didn't call on you. So he's avoiding the question just to mock somebody. You got to hear Graham.
To the government. Donald Trump is suing the IRS for $10 billion because somebody at the IRS may have leaked his records. You should sue. If our government can't be sued by people, only by people not in it, then people like us are wolves or lambs to the slaughter.
Whoops. If our government can't be sued by people, I mean, only by people not in it. Can we sue? If anybody wanted to sue the IRS? OpenAI working on social media network that could require creepy eye scans, as reported. Signing up for the bot-free platform will reportedly require submitting some biometric data. HOA sparks outrage as it bans people from heating their home during monster storm. Nashville families set up a generator in hopes of surviving the bitter cold, only to receive a letter from their HOA demanding they immediately remove it. In the aftermath of with Winter Storm Fern last week, they've been without power since Sunday. Without heat, they've been forced to bundle up in blankets, coats, lighting candles, and running faucets to prevent freezing. Temperatures plummet to 8 degrees. They set up a generator on the porch and ran cords through the front door, firing up heaters throughout their condominium. They should sue the HOA. Just hours later, HOA management, Metropolitan Properties, reached out demanding the generator be removed immediately. It said the generator was not allowed due to a fire hazard, threatening a fine if it was not put away. Why do they care so much when people are just trying to stay warm and survive? U.S. East Coast bomb cyclone could bring heaviest snow in decades to North Kakalaki. Storm will rapidly strengthen along the East Coast this weekend, delivering heavy snow from the Carolinas to New England, with blizzard conditions likely to hardest hit areas. Coastal flooding is anticipated. So yeah, there's I've seen so many different things for this about snowfall there. We're definitely getting. So that here, this one says I'm right on the border of that where it goes light blue to blue. That's saying we're in the 6 to 12 range. I've seen 3 to 6. They're saying guarantee more than 2, but they're saying Raleigh's supposed to get like 20 inches. This was a laugh out loud one. I was banned from the gym for being too fat after bosses called me a health and safety risk. So I went to the police. An influencer somehow is an influencer released on a gym after he was allegedly refused a membership for being too fat. Julio Otavio Miranda da Silva, 35, claimed the staff at Academia Horizon in the Brazilian region of Sao Paulo described him as a health and safety risk after a trial swimming class. Now, not gonna lie, I mean, you're gonna make sure you don't collapse and die and sue you. All you have to do is start walking, you'll lose 100 pounds. Breaking, Trump signs executive order declaring a national emergency regarding communist Cuba and prepares tariffs on countries supplying them oil. Trump doctrine time. Venezuela is first, Cuba is next. How's this America first? Who hashtag I voted for this? Influencer. When I was a personal trainer for years in Columbia, South Carolina, and I remember I was making a drink because one time I've never had money, so I've always been at the bottom, and I was making a shake, ultra met light, never forget, put peanut butter in it, so I lived on that stuff. I probably had about 6 of those a day easily, and some lady, I remember her going, just random. I'm looking to lose 100 pounds. I spit that across the bar. I know it's kind of like it slapped me, but I'm going, most people say I need to lose 20, 30 pounds. Nobody ever says just, the sky is blue. Yeah, I need to lose 100 pounds. Okay. Funny, my two best friends at the time were 450 pounds and 350 pounds each. Oh, I already did this one. Okay, double exclusive. U.S. military tells key Middle East ally to prepare for attack on Iran. Some people have said that the Epstein thing came out because Trump hasn't done it yet. But since it came out, there needs to be distraction from the Epstein thing. So we'll probably blow up Iran in the next 24 hours. The Iran Observer, U.S. has informed its allies it will attack Iran this coming weekend with the aim of regime change. The U.S. hopes that an attack on the Iranian government will trigger a new wave of protests. Caitlin Johnstone, first it was about going to war with Iran over possible nuclear weapons. Then it was about going to war with Iran because they're rebuilding their conventional missile arsenal. Then it was going to war with Iran to protect protesters. And now it's back to nukes again. Here's the White House. Hopefully Iran will continue quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. No nuclear weapons. One that is good for all parties. Time is running out. Here's Ron Paul for this play because it is exactly how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Now reverse that.
We keep seeing preparations for more and more war. The war games are dealing with Iran into the Middle East and elsewhere. The dissensions between the Europeans and the U.S. are something that wouldn't happen if you had decent foreign policy, but it still is a problem that could amount to something else because all these countries might have to pick sides one of these times. I see, and I think you agree, Daniel, that much of this is our own doing. Yeah, there's a lot of evil out there, but it seems like our foreign policy of interventionism has not been beneficial to us or to the world and the peace that we seek.
And even it hasn't been beneficial to President Trump. I mean, he's facing a midterm election. I've looked at several polls showing that the Democrats, just a generic ballot Democrats, are doing very well. And President Trump himself recognizes this. I think it was last week that he said, he's quoted as having said, I'm moving toward losing the midterms. And if I lose the midterms, I'm finished, is what he said. So he's clearly recognizes that there's a problem. He's lost not only on foreign policy, is he way down from when he took power, but I was reading this morning on Zero Hedge that even on immigration, he's lost some 10 points or 12 points of approval. That was the only solid that he had early on. So he's losing across all fronts. But it's strange, Dr. Paul, instead of taking stock of everything around him and of his policies and saying, well, what can I do to right this ship? He's actually continuing to do the things that have got him into trouble.
Yeah, there was a gigantic drop off of gold recently. Yes.
You know, he said no more wars. And now we have another war on the horizon, at least one, maybe two. No regime change. Well, we had a regime change of sorts in Venezuela. And now we said that the Iranian regime has to be changed. He continues to do all the things that are getting him in trouble. And one of the things we talked about today is, so where's the next war? Iran or Venezuela? I would say probably Iran. President Trump, if we can put that first clip up, President Trump issued this post on Truth Social this morning that is extremely aggressive. It says, a massive armada is heading to Iran. It is moving quickly with great power, enthusiasm, and purpose. It is a larger fleet headed by the great aircraft carrier Abraham Lincoln. Then that sent to Venezuela. It's hard to read him sometimes. Like with Venezuela, it is ready, willing, and able to rapidly fulfill its mission with speed and violence if necessary. Hopefully, Iran will quickly come to the table and negotiate a fair and equitable deal. No nuclear weapons, one that is good for all parties. Time is running out. It is truly one of the essential, it's hard to read. As I told Iran once before, make a deal. They didn't, and there was Operation Midnight Hammer, a major destruction of Iran. The next attack will be far worse. Don't make that happen again. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Very, very threatening, Dr. Paul, and full of contradictions because if Operation Midnight Hammer was successful, as he claimed, in obliterating Iran's nuclear program, then why is he having to go back again and threatening to obliterate Iran's nuclear program? I think people are realizing that it's a bunch of bluff and bluster.
But yeah, they didn't mention it in here. But yeah, he says all 3 nuclear sites in Iran were completely destroyed and or obliterated. That was what Trump said. It would take years to bring them back into service. But now they're wanting to go to war because of exactly what he's, again, the lies and the false. But if you listen to alternative media, you knew that was already fake anyways. Anyway, listener generated question. Heather brings up about the drop of gold, sudden gold and silver down, and the dollar being stronger. So much for eliminating the IRS. Instead, we should all rush. Yep. Yeah. If anybody thought that at first, it's like, yeah, he's just blowing smoke. Peter Schiff, the crash in gold and silver today had nothing to do with Trump nominating Warsh to be the Fed chair. If Trump thought Warsh was going to be a hawk, he would not have picked him. Plus, even the most hawkish FOMC members are still dust. Politically, there's no alternative. Now, I haven't found exactly what all this, everything about the budget. I see this budget today. See if the budget pass, if 2026. Let's see if I can find anything real quick. General that was 2025 a couple days ago. Nothing in here because of what they're trying to avoid the shutdown. But budget, I'll look and see if I can find more. Here's from 3 hours ago. Office of Management and Budget, OMB, has confirmed federal government funding lapses at midnight tonight, triggering a partial shutdown. Good. Senate passed the deal, but the House won't vote until Monday. Brief lapse expected. Agencies now initiating orderly procedure. With a vote of 46 to 54, Democrats hold DHS funding hostage as the government will now shut down at midnight unless something changes. Multiple Republicans joined the Democrats and voted no. The House passed the budget and is in recess until Monday because it's so worrisome. We'll take the weekend off. Tulsi Gabbard's appearance at Fulton County FBI raid raises questions. That's down in Atlanta, Georgia, if you don't know. T-Maxin, testosterone Maxin, has gone too far. It says some of the country's most powerful men are panicking about the T levels. Tucker Carlson's In Demand blamed declining testosterone for the supposedly rampant emasculation of American man. Influencers, blah, 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 blah. If you want an easy solution on that, just get some pine pollen. You can drink some pomegranate juice. It's got testosterone in it too. But pine pollen tincture is a great way to help with that if you need any. This was not terribly funny, but a Florida couple has filed a lawsuit against their fertility clinic after a DNA test revealed the baby girl they welcomed in December isn't theirs. What was that? Remember that Jim Carrey movie? Kind of reminds you of that. My kids are not the same as me. Here's a new influencer. Kabi Lame signs a $975 million deal, authorizes use of personal brand, Face ID, Voice ID, and behavioral models, enabling the creation of an AI-powered digital twin. Lame started position on TikTok back in 2020 after being fired from his job. He started out by playing video games and then started doing videos like this. He now has over 350 million followers across platforms. He signed an all-stock deal with Rich Sparkle Holdings worth just a shy over $1 billion. Digital powered twin. Digital twin is a virtual replica of something new, whether it be a place, object, or a person, Complex reported. To create it, Lame will enable Rich Sparkle to copy his facial features, voice patterns, and behavior. Rich Sparkle predicts the deal could generate over $4 billion in annual sales. I never heard of this guy until this came up. I looked up some of the videos. Apparently, just it's brilliant. He mocks some some dumb things people do or life hacks and just makes fun of it. I think it's about 30 seconds, 20 or 30 second videos. And the guy's got 350 million followers. It's unreal. He was in movies. Adam Schefter of ESPN and NFL in Sports Today officially appointed influential storyteller Darman, no idea what that is, as its first ever Chief Kindness Officer and Creator of the Week for Super Bowl 60. What? Oh, Rick Barrett got to it. He said, football is gay. Here's that guy. The NFL has hired controversial YouTuber Darman as first Chief Kindness Officer. His first campaign is called Be Nice to Your Rival, perhaps a nod to Bears' Ben Johnson, who said blank the Packers after eliminating them from the playoffs. Could you imagine Dick Butkus with this? Here is Darman's alleged bio. We Grow Marijuana co-founder lawsuit over unpaid debt. Felony fraud tied to the Oakland City program. He pled no contacts. False claims. Oakland received $37,500 in civil penalties under the False Claims Act. Landlord litigation. Oakland pursued cases tied to man over alleged unsafe conditions. Studio backlash. Actors protested alleging unpaid wages, poor working conditions, and retaliation from man. Man publicly disputed some of the claims. What in the world is this? He looks gay. I mean, I can't argue that. He probably works more on his hair than most females. MTG, Marjorie the Gathering, said the quiet part out loud. You can't vote your way. I'll just play her. I'm tired of reading. I'm saving for the last one.
It's not me just saying this. I think the proof is over and over and over. The American people have seen it.
Who's in the pudding?
So I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not true. The proof is in the pudding, you know, and it's just the reality. You can't vote your way out of this. You can't vote your way out of it. The people are going to have to refuse to support the political industrial complex. That's the only way you can tear it down. There's winning the midterms is not going to lower your health insurance. Winning the midterms is not going to fix our elections and stop election fraud. Winning the midterms isn't going to really change much in Washington, D.C. It certainly is not going to do anything about the national debt. They don't care about the national debt. We have a balanced budget amendment that every single year gets reintroduced into Congress. We all co-sponsor it. But no matter who the speaker is, Republican or Democrat, they never bring it to the floor for a vote. Same thing, we have a term limits bill. A whole bunch of us co-sponsor it, and every single Congress, they never bring the term limits bill to the floor for a vote because they don't mean it. They literally don't mean it. If term limits were in place, a bunch of these people would get term limited and then they'd have to leave Washington. They wouldn't have a job. You want to know why? Because they couldn't make it on their own 2 feet in the real world. They are not qualified and competent enough to actually run a successful business or go work an ordinary job like most Americans do. They're just not. They're not competent enough people, but yet they're running our country.
And making millions. Yeah, we'll see if NTG has something else up her sleeve. I think she's setting herself up to run for president in 2028. Just my personal thing. There's always someone's got an angle to play. But, I mean, she'll have a following if she does, obviously. But really, the only solution is to break away. As she said, stop participating in the political industrial complex, she said. This day in 1969, Beatles performed together for the last time. 2011, California became the first state to celebrate Fred Komatsu Day. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Convicted of 42, violating exclusion order requiring him to relocate. Got it, okay. 1995, flooding forced the evacuation of more than 100,000 people from low-lying areas of the Netherlands. 1972, the demonstration by Roman Catholic civil rights supporters in Londonderry, Northern Ireland, turned violent when British paratroopers opened fire, killing 13 and injuring 14 others. One of them injured later died. Bloody Sunday, as became known. Spiked support for the Irish Republican Army. 1948, Mahatma Gandhi was assassinated by Hindu extremists, Gudsi. 1945, one of the greatest maritime disasters in history, the German ocean liner Gutslav was sunk by Soviet submarine, resulting in the deaths of estimated 9,000 people. 1941, Dick Cheney was born. People wonder where he's at today after he died. 1933, President Paul von Hindenburg named Adolf Hitler Chancellor of Germany. 1933, the Lone Ranger was introduced by George Trendle and Fran Stryker on radio station WXYZ in Detroit, Michigan. 1931, the silent romantic comedy film City Lights had its world premiere and is considered to be many of Charlie Chaplin's crowning achievements in cinema. 1912, Barbara Tuchman was born in New York. 1911, Roy Eldridge was born in Pittsburgh. 1847, previously known as Yerba Buena, the name of the plant meaning good herb. San Francisco was given its current name. 1649, Charles I, King of Great Britain and Ireland, whose authoritarian rule and quarrels with the Parliament provoked the English Civil War, was executed in London. In 9 BC, the shrine Ara Pacis was dedicated to the Roman Emperor Augustus. Anyway, have a great night, ladies and gentlemen. This is irrelevant, Steve, but do you have a pro or prebiotic you prefer? Here's something easy for you. Is it Olipop? I think it's called Olipop. There's a drink that's a good probiotic. It has prebiotics in it too. It's cola. So if you like colas, sodas, Cokes, you can have prebiotic Cokes. So something like that. That helps. Guts. That'd be an easy one that you could get right now. You go to the grocery store and pick that up. Favorites, I use them all. Almost every tincture I have is a probiotic, some sort. Simple one. I'll give you some more. I'll give you some more. But yeah, have the Olipops because you see the ingredients like marshmallow roots in there. So that's good stuff like that. Elderberry, all the mushrooms, reishi, cordyceps, lion's mane. Lion's mane especially is good for your mind. If you worry about dementia and all that, get you some lion's mane. Reishi, what else? All the mushrooms. The mushrooms are fantastic like that. Get the 4 mushrooms like the cordyceps, lion's mane, reishi, and I just missed it. What's the other one? Reishi. I forget the other one right off the bat. I got them every day. Use them. That'd be the easiest and best to do it for you. Marshmallow root. Yep, there you go. That's in Olipop. So yeah, but the mushrooms you can't. The edible mushrooms like that are good for you. Cordyceps is fantastic like that. Get stuff like that. You can't get anything better. There's also those things like Chinese air potatoes that are really good for you, but you got to be able to grow that right, be able to cook it right, be able to handle it right. Those things are fantastic. Milk thistle and dandelion that has it in there. That's actually good for your liver. Those are great liver for you. But yeah. There's get Judson's book too. Go to Judson Carroll and get his book. And check out his blog. He does a podcast all the time on these topics. He has even more. And who's the other one? Rosemary something. Look on Amazon. Type in Rosemary herbs, women, kids. Rosemary Gadsden, I think her name is. She has some great information too. But yeah. Anyways, have a great weekend, guys. Like, subscribe, all that stuff below in the show notes. Have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday. We will be snowed in here for the next 2 days. Snowmageddon will melt on Monday, so we should be good. If we get more than 10 inches, I'll take a photo of it. Anyways, God love you. Have a great rest of the night and take care.